Welcome back to the another tutorial, and in this tutorial we're gonna talk in depth about imperative programming. Okay, most especially in Android application development. Okay, so in traditional way, while building UI in Android, we use this imperative programming approach. Okay, so do you ever feel like when you build an Android application, so you feel like sometimes you are constantly chasing after the state of your UI, right? Do you ever feel like this? So then if you feel like this, then you are in the right spot, in the sense like you have this approach that you are following, that is imperative programming approach. So every time a user clicks, swipes, or interact with your application, you have to scramble to update the UI elements accordingly. So this is the world of imperative programming. Okay, so the traditional approach to build UI on Android. Okay, so we are gonna talk about this in the example, but let me go in depth about what is imperative programming. You can see this is the example. I have built a simple application using an imperative approach. Okay, so what is imperative programming? Before going in depth about the imperative programming example, I want to ask you questions like, what is imperative programming? Imperative programming, so it's like writing a code that directly manipulates the state of your UI elements based on your user interaction. So you define the UI layout in XML. As you can see here, you define the UI layout in the XML file, and then use functions in Java and Kotlin to change the appearance of the behavior, right? So for example, you have a counter here, you have an increment counter button. So when you click, you change the UI, the text view, the counter text is being updated. Okay, and it is all pretty much done by this this programming. Okay, so by writing the means of a code here, so by the code you change the UI here. Okay, on the basis of the changes that has been performed by the user. So this is kind of a imperative approach, right? So so what are the challenges of imperative UI? Okay, so for example, so like just take a simple example of a calendar event. Okay, so let's consider a simple UI element. Okay, so the card of a calendar event. Okay, it has a title, owner, meeting links, optional guest links. Okay, list and the room name. Okay, so if there are more than 5 guests, the list should collapse, right? So in the when the you have a complex UI, for example, in this simple UI you have only simple states, right? For example, here two like simple states. But if you have a complex UI, then you can have a lot of states. Okay, so you have to handle multiple states, but with imperative programming, things can get very very messy. Okay, so you have multiple states. Okay, so the calendar event can have numerous states depending on the data and user interactions. So we need a code to handle each state, showing the full guest list, collapse list, the guest count, display the room name. So also you can have the second thing is you can have a conditional statement galore. So that means to manage this state, you might need to end up with lot of else, if else, statements, lot of if else if, statements, checking various different conditions, like various different UI states, right? So you can end up getting messy with a lot of if and else statements. Okay, and the complexity will grow in this kind of situations. So imperative approach is not the really very right way to update your UI. Okay, so because you have a very difficulty in managing the state changes of your UI. Okay, so but you don't need to worry. Why I am trying to explain you this approach, imperative approach, is because I want to make you assure that there is a hope. Then the hope is like you have a the opposite of imperative approach is we have a declarative approach that is gaining popularity for its simplicity and maintainability. Okay, and this is what Jetpack Compose is about. So follow the Jetpack Compose, guys, and like I will be coming up with more other tutorials explaining you about Jetpack Compose. Okay, so which is pretty much a cool approach, like which will help us to manage all the different states in a really cool manner. Okay, so I will be explaining you in the upcoming lectures. And so this is all about the brief introduction of imperative approach, guys. And hope you, if you like it, please do share, subscribe, and comment if you have any questions. Okay, and catch you up in the next lecture. Thank you, guys.